There are 18 measures across the 5 pillars which reflect the university's learning environment, such as the teaching reputation, student-to-staff ratio, income per academic, and then there are also measures about research environment, such as the research income per academic, publications per academic, and then these another sort of measures that look at the quality of research, such as the citation impact, the research strength, the excellence, and how influential this research is. And then these are 3 measures about international outlook, which is basically about the students, staff, and international authorship. And then there's another dimension there that looks at industry, which basically looks at whether we are having income from industry and whether our university's publications are cited in patents. So the various measures capture data on students, staff, university finance, and research activity.
Okay.
And THG has a reputation survey which weighs about 1/3 of the overall ranking, and that is what has driven the university's performance down, together with the fact that we had the bad conditions in 22, which was the data used by THG for this year's ranking.
Yeah, well, let's have a look at the Australian universities' performances. We've got a graph to show how they're performing that we can bring up now. The University of Melbourne coming in at 39. It's dropped 2 spots. Monash has dropped 4, ANU 6, University of Queensland 7. There are some exceptions to the rule, but can you take us through how Australian universities fared?
Yeah, so over the years, we have done really well in terms of our reputation. So our reputation has been ahead in the way that we have been doing lots of different things. And the other thing, too, is the fact that in 22, which is the data used by Times Higher Education this year, basically reflected the conditions back then. And that, in 22, there were 27 Australian universities which had operating deficits. So that was really unusual. In the previous year, in 21, there were only 3 universities that had deficits. So basically, we knew that the data was going to be not good for this year. But perhaps the most surprising thing is the fact that THG made some changes to the reputation survey, which reflected poor performance for Australia. And this is the area where we need to be paying more attention now, because the reputation scores have been sort of weakening for some years. The past 2 years was sort of not so bad, but this year it's just not that great.
Yeah.
And this is also reflecting the other rankings that have come across this year.
Let's talk about some of the headwinds for the sector, because we know that there's quite a few here. Presumably, funding plays a pretty big part. How do you think the incoming funding pipeline is going to impact on the university's reputations and their results?
It's going to impact dramatically, because basically the less funding available for institutions, basically it means that we'll be doing less well in research metrics, in other metrics and in relation to the learning environment. But also it will hurt our reputation, because our university will have less ability to attract international students, which in turn fund research, fund universities' operations, and help to build our reputation.
You mentioned international students there. We know that there are incoming caps on those. How is that going to play into the future results?
I suspect they will be having the impact in the next 2 or 3 years, but probably we're going to see the impact sooner in the reputation surveys, because the word is out that Australia is not welcoming students. So we need to manage that aspect about, to what extent the messaging out there is negative.
Given that, reputationally, it looks like the forecast, or what the results currently are, is that we're declining, and the forecast, in say, your opinion, is going to be difficult. What does this mean for Australian universities attracting high-calibre students?
Well, that will continue to be challenging. It has been challenging already for a number of years, because many of the top candidates prefer to go to the United States and the United Kingdom, because they perceive that the education institutions from those countries are better quality. And with the caps now, that basically put more pressure on Australian universities to demonstrate that we are top quality institutions. And remember, rankings drive the interest for lots of students to come to Australia, and also for lots of researchers to work with us. So, the fact that we're trending down is no good news.
No, research was going to be my next area to chat to you about. I mean, we know research is so important that comes out of universities. What do you think the future holds, the near-term future holds for, really great publications and great research to come from Australian institutions?
So for a number of years, we had done really well in terms of our publications, and we have been living off the benefit that we have been producing good research that is getting cited, and also cited in patents and in other top quality publications and researchers. But if we are having less research income, it is going to hurt us. And potentially we're going to see, difficult environment in the next 3 to 5 years because we are going to be having less impact overall. But it also highlights that there are other countries up north that are doing a lot better, where there's greater investment, and basically they are taking that opportunities to develop their national system to a better quality standards than what currently have here in Australia right now.
Yeah, let me ask you about our international colleagues there. You've mentioned the US and the UK. They tend to dominate the top 10 ranked universities, starting with Oxford, MIT, Harvard, Princeton, the usual suspects. What are they doing to stay on top?
Well, typically those countries, the United States and the United Kingdom, they have had a long tradition in higher education. We basically are a relatively young country, and probably our higher education system has only fully developed in the past 30 to 40 years. So we are way down. But also in those countries, there's a greater investment made from philanthropy, industry, to support universities, and therefore the ability to do more research. So the conditions are quite different from that perspective.